President Green, distinguished faculty, our beloved parents who've all put down their umbrellas, families and friends, and most importantly, the radiant and resilient graduating class of Colby College. Thank you for honoring me by allowing me to stand here today. President Green, I want to begin by thanking you not only for this gracious invitation, but for the light you bring to higher education. Needed now more than ever, you are a beacon, bold visionary, and deeply humane individual. Some 15 years ago, when I was thinking about becoming a university president, I identified 6 great university leaders across the country that I could fly and spend the day with. And so I flew to Chicago, and I spent the day with Bob Zimmer and David Green. I almost worked for you, sir. The unexpected, and little would I imagine that all of these years later, I am here today. And so it is an affirmation that life is filled with incidents, accidents, and providence. I've long wanted to visit Colby. I've read about this place. I have friends and colleagues who have graduated from here. A very dear friend of mine, Shane Baldwin, plays on the football team here, who is graduating in this class. Mrs. Lunder, for the longest time, Paul and Peter Lunder have encouraged me to come and visit Colby. And I'm here, Mrs. Lunder. Very happy to be here. And I want to thank you for all that you do, you and your family, to leave such an incredible imprint on the arts and humanities, not just philanthropically, but by giving of yourselves and your talents. I've admired your art museum from afar, and now I am here at the top of this hill at what feels to be the top of the world, and looking out at all of you, what a view. You, Colby class of 2025, have come from every corner of this country and from every compass of this globe. You came to a place you didn't know, and over 4 years, you made it home. You brought your stories with you, stories of hardship and triumph, stories whispered from oceans or shouted from mountains. You carried your names, names inherited, names chosen, names that carry the weight of ancestors and the hope of the future. You brought them all here to this place, atop of this hill, and you did something rather remarkable. You dared northward. You dared not just towards knowledge, but toward friendship, toward selfhood. You didn't just arrive, you built. You created community. Now, let me tell you a story, some of which you've already heard, one that lives inside of me like a heartbeat. In 1880, a group of 14 families down in Alabama, all newly emancipated Black American slaves, who had little else except the clothes on their back, pulled their resources together because they wanted to create community. They did something that was rather remarkable. They bought a plantation. A plantation. They paid $2,380 for 560 acres. And they gave that place an evidence of God's grace, a name. They named the place Madison Park after the leader of the pack, Eli Madison. And they cleared the land, they raised homes with their bare hands, and then listen to this. In their first month of living in that community together, they built not one, but 2 buildings, a church and a school. The church so that could affirm their gratitude to a God who had delivered them to a place and to the possibility of the future. And the school, because while they knew that chains can be broken by emancipation, true freedom only comes through education. And perhaps 1 or 2 of them who could read had heard with their own ears that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So naturally, they believe that if their children could not only learn to read and to write and to think, then they could live fully into the dream that had been so long deferred to them. So on a warm spring morning, kind of like this, they made a covenant in that open field. They made a covenant to one another that every child born in Madison Park would go to that school. Now that story would inspire great confidence and a legend, but it is no legend to me. You see, my grandfather's grandfather was one of those 14. He cut the trees, he built the house, he carved community out of clay and hope. And years later, in that very same house, his grandfather named that grandson George Washington Motley, to remind him, as Desiderata reminds us, that we're no less than the trees and the stars. We have a right to be here. And whether or not you realize it, the world is unfolding just as it should. It was to remind him of his birthright as an American citizen. And many decades later, in that same house, on that same piece of land, under those same shade trees that had been planted by ancestors, those people adopted me, and they gave me their name, Motley. Now, I must tell you that as a child, I started to show early signs of genius. At least that's what my grandparents thought. And the people of our community all called me Little Einstein, albeit none of them actually knew anything about Einstein except he sported a white afro. But then something deeply disturbing happened. I was demoted, not in life, not yet, but in first grade. I was demoted from the rabbits to the turtles. Now, my grandmother, though deeply spiritual, who was also deeply practical, she knew, not with a formal education, that enough about biology was to know that turtles are much, much slower than rabbits. And so she launched a full educational intervention. She called the one woman in Madison Park who had a college degree, who she believed could help solve this problem. She was known as Aunt Shine, because everywhere she went, light followed. Her name was Emma Madison Bell. She was a granddaughter of the founder of Madison Park. And she came over to our house at my grandmother's begging to ask her to help this academically endangered child. And soon as Aunt Shine arrived, a muscular woman both in physique and faith, she asked to see the letter that the teacher had sent to my grandmother. And reading it, I heard through the door, "Don't worry. Don't worry. We believe in resurrection." Now, let me tell you, when you're 6 years old and you hear someone speaking about your academic performance in terms of resurrection, it's not exactly confidence building. And having grown up in the American South in a deeply religious Christian family, I knew well enough that a resurrection always was preceded by crucifixion. This was greatly disturbing. But Aunt Shine did two remarkable things that I will never, never forget. The first thing she did, that Sunday morning in a very small town like Lake Wobegon, she managed to get the minister to allow her to come to the front of the sanctuary, the entire town there, and she made a public service announcement as if she was on NPR. And she said, "Ladies, brothers and sisters in this community, we believe in one another." And one of our own, little Eric Motley, right there, was demoted last week to a turtle. Now, this is greatly disturbing for us all, but I have something that I need you to do. Whatever reading matter you have at your house, I want you to bring it by his house this afternoon, because I'm going to be there with his grandparents sitting on the porch, and I'm going to build him a library. And that afternoon, you would have thought a paper drive was taking place. Almost everyone in Madison Park came by our house. Someone brought a 1945 almanac predicting weather that year. Someone brought by volume N of Encyclopedia Britannica. Whatever you want to know about anything that begins with an N, I'm your guy. But someone brought by a wonderful volume of English verse, minus its table of contents, minus its cover, but thickly sewn, yes, Bibbs, with Yeats, with Shakespeare, with William Wordsworth, with James Weldon Johnson, with Keats, with Virginia Woolf and Elizabeth Bishop. The lines of that first poem I later committed to memory. William Wordsworth, there was a time when meadow, grove, and stream, and every common sight to me did seem, apparelled in a freshness of a dream. As it were, it is no more. The rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is a rose. And this I know, where'er I go, that there has passed away a glory from this earth. The second thing Aunt Shine did was she organized 4 retired teachers in Madison Park, all her sisters, all in their 70s and 80s. And for 2 years, every day except Sunday and Saturday, they came by my house and they tutored me. They made me commit the preamble to the Declaration of Independence to memory, the Constitution, the preamble to the Constitution to memory, James Weldon Johnson's Lift Every Voice and Sing Till Earth and Heaven Rings to memory. And then we would move into our math. Aunt Shine, a name that you will never hear again, perhaps. There was no New York Times obituary when she died. And you know, she is this most remarkable person who left her indelible impression upon me. And the truth is, I was never a turtle. I just had not found my stride. And with the help of my community and those retired teachers who came by every day, who had confidence in me, my Madison Park, I found it. Years later, I found myself at the White House, at the State Department, at the Aspen Institute, and now at the National Gallery of Art. And everywhere I go, I carry Madison Park with me. It is my compass. Here's what I want you to know, Colby graduates. Your story matters. The stories you have lived, the ones you have inherited, and most of all, the ones that you're soon to create. We live in a world that often tells us to be quick and clever, to be loud and bold, to go viral, to build platforms and personal brands. But the deeper call, the more enduring call, is to build community, not just careers. And you've done that here. You've done it in the dorm rooms and classrooms and labs and libraries and long, cold walks across Miller Lawn. You have dared northward, not just in geography, but in spirit. But now you stand at the edge of something else. Not an ending, but as T.S. Eliot reminds us, a new beginning. As Maya Angelou reminds us, on the pulse of this morning. Remember, you will be tempted in the years to come to chase significance in all the wrong places, in resumes, in titles, in square footage, but don't. Instead, remember, true greatness is not what you achieve for yourself, but what you inspire in others. It's the community you create, the grace you give, the hope you offer. Education is not just about facts or theories. It's about the awakening of the mind to the contemplation of something much greater. It is about seeing the world in all of its brokenness and beauty, and choosing stubbornly to love it anyway. It is, as the founders of Madison Park knew, the one gift that no one could take away from you. But it comes with great responsibility to use it for the good of others. Many, many years later, I saw Aunt Shine on her dying bed, and I felt pretty proud of all that she had invested in me. And as I walked into the room, I was told that she had not spoken words in weeks. But leave it to me, she spoke. She looked at me. She said, if you think that I'm proud because you've gone to Scotland and that you work for a president I didn't vote for, don't be self-satisfied. Because to whom much is given, much is required. A university president like Dr. David Green had a great influence on me as I was a student, who ignited the inspiration of wanting to become a university college president. He said to me, at some point in your life, you will come to an inflection point, and you will look back and you will realize that all that truly matters is REM. No, that's not rapid eye movement, but it's relationships, experiences, and memories. So as you leave this hilltop, take with you the best of this place. Take the art and the ideas, the questions that still vex you, and yes, even the frostbite. Take the friendships that changed you, and then go and build. Build your Madison Park. Build communities towards truth and tenderness, of reason and reverence. Dare northward steal, not just towards success, but towards true significance. And when life sends you a setback, and it will, when you're demoted from rabbit to turtle in whatever way and shape and form it takes, remember class Colby 2025, we believe in resurrection, and we believe in you. Congratulations.